It is Hope at Crafty Hope, and I am here with another art journal. This one is a fairly large journal that I picked up, I think, well, I know I picked it up at an estate sale, but I think it's from Michael's. I can't remember the Michael's brand, but I remember taking the tag off of it once I got home. I definitely scored that at the estate sale. I was really happy with the size of it. I do not like the cover of it. It's kind of glittery, sparkly, polka dotty. And I will likely alter that at some point. I'm just trying to decide how, but for now, I am working in it. This day, I hadn't worked in a journal in a while, and I kind of wanted to work large and test out kind of the pages in this journal. So I thought, hey, let's go for it. So, and now that I've done it, I probably won't pick it up again because when I was organizing all of my journals and everything for the new year, I realized I had I don't even know, far too many journals in progress that I need to finish or do something with rather than starting a new one. So this was the first page in this one. And like I said, I may not get back to it unless I decide again that I really want to work large. So, and as far as large, I don't know. It's probably, I don't think it's 8.5 by 11, but maybe 8 by 10-ish would be a good guess. So anyway, so I am starting it. I decided to pull out a bunch of my ephemera and book pages and handwritten letters, and there's a big envelope there, and who knows what else is going into this. And I am just using my Uhu glue stick, and I'm going to cover this whole page. I don't even know why. Like I said, I was just kind of in the mood to have busy hands, and so I started with collaging, and that totally kept my hands busy for a little while. I was definitely restless and needed something to keep my mind busy. So I love collecting old papers and stuff. I've got stuff all over my room. I've got a big bookshelf full of books that I've gotten at yard sales, and estate sales, and thrift stores, and the library. And I'm trying not to pick up any more unless I absolutely have to have them. So that's that. But since it's across the room from my desk, I'm trying to keep a couple of. I've got a bag that's a little brown bag with handles. I've got some larger pieces in, and then that little container you may have seen at the beginning is just a little plastic tub that I'm keeping bits and pieces of things in. So I'm working kind of trying to from that to get it emptied down. I seem to keep adding more to it rather than use it up, but that's okay. That's, things like this, gluing everything down kind of gives me that opportunity. And one of the journals in progress I've got is basically, I saw Tiffany of Southern Gals Design. I talk about her all the time because she's such an inspiration. Y'all should, if you don't follow her, I don't know why you'd be watching me if you don't follow her, but go check her out. I'll try to link her below in the description box. But she did a glue book. She had some kind of little journaling thing that she decided to just use some of her scraps like this and just glue it through to turn it into a journal. And I've got something like that in progress with like some of these scraps and stuff that I've got in another bag. But it's good to take that little bag with me when I'm going to be somewhere and just sitting, that I can just take my glue stick and that bag with that little book that I've got and glue stuff in it. Oh no, I was having so much trouble. You see there, I got exasperated. I was trying to tear just a little strip to go along that top portion, and every time I tore it, it was just too small. It wouldn't work. So I think I finally got a strip there that'll work across that top of the page. Yeah, my tearing isn't always great. Some of these papers are so fragile, since they're so old, that they just, I don't know, they just fall to pieces. So. All right, so I have got that all down, and well, almost. Y'all see, I fiddle with where I don't get the edges down very well, and so I'm constantly pulling up that having a card like that, a gift card or a credit card or whatever, works great for helping flatten things out so you don't get so many wrinkles. But I also like it to go around the pages and pull up the edges where it didn't get glued, so I can get to that to glue it down. So, and I've pulled out just a little tube of, that is the Prima Finnabair Heavy Gesso. I bought a little set that had a couple different mediums in it, and I've been trying to use them. So that's what this is, and I just squirted a little straight onto the page, and I've got a big brush, and I'm moving it around, and it is kind of heavy, so I was having trouble getting it to move, so I sprayed just a little bit of water because I didn't want to completely cover all of that yummy book pages and stuff that I put down. So I sprayed that, and then I used my card again to help scrape it down so I could get the bottom portion of the page, and I'm evening it out with a paintbrush. So, like I said, I was itching to play, so I've got that. Oh, and I took my paper towel. I wasn't trying to dry it so much as get some of that texture in there, and I'm going to try to show it to you. I don't know that it shows up so much, the texture, and it doesn't really make much of an impact in the page and the end result. So here's later I come back to it after I let it dry. And I've got some woodies. These are Stabila Woodies. They're a recent purchase for me, so I'm still trying to figure out how I enjoy playing with them. So this page was kind of about playing with some of my stuff, and I'm calling this my grungy page because in the end, even though I put some of these really bright colors on it, it ends up being fairly grungy. So I've got a dark blue and kind of a teal, and now this peachy color that are all really yummy. And I am going to take that same paintbrush I had a minute ago and have it kind of wet. And I think or am I going to spray? We'll see here in a second. Yeah. And I'm just going to drag those colors around just to add a little bit of color on that page. Now, I love working with water soluble stuff. I know some people hate it because it's constantly moving, but I kind of love that because it gives me a surprise. You know, you never know exactly how it's going to work out. So this is a Lindy's spray in some kind of beautiful, luscious, I say luscious all the time, but it's some kind of lime that I just kind of sprayed straight onto my page. And I thought I was going to use the paintbrush with it, but instead I just picked up that paper towel again and just kind of blotted it to pick up some of the water on there. So, and again, it's water soluble as well. When it dries, it's got a little bit of a pretty sheen to it. And that is a water soluble graphite pencil. Um, I These are not the ones that everybody tends to use. They're it's a set of cheap ones that I think I got at the Dollar Tree forever and ever and ever ago. They had a really nice selection of like art supplies at some point, and I picked up everything they had, but I haven't seen them pull those in again. And I used my paper towel there just to blot up some of the water. I wasn't trying to dry everything completely, but I just didn't want pools of water on my page. So that is my box of hand-carved stamps. They're almost all erasers that I have carved. I've got a tutorial on how to carve stamps from erasers. I'll try to link that also. And at some point I have a video of what all my stamps are, but I don't know. It seems to be so long, and I can't seem to edit it down enough to make it feasible to put here on YouTube. So um, yeah, so this one is just kind of a botanical one. It's almost fernish, but not really. And I'm using Distress Oxide in Walnut Stain to put that down there. And that kind of helps with that grungy, you know, bringing it down. I added, you know, those several colors on there. And this kind of brings that color back down a little bit. I didn't have a whole lot of direction, but I had pulled out this, oh, I can't think what it's called, family photos or family portraits. I don't know. It's these postcard sized pictures from Tim Holtz, and I don't like the squareness of it, so I am just cutting out the silhouette of the lady so that I have just the shape of her head there. I did leave the bottom flat because I'm going to cover it up anyway. And that's one of the tonic Tim Holtz tools that distresses edges, because I knew I wanted to ink the edges, and I was thinking that by distressing it a little, it might take the ink a little more. I didn't do a great job with getting the ink in all these, and you might be able to see in some of the close-ups some of the white still shows even though I ink it. But it's okay. It's just in my art journal. Nobody has to see it but me, and now I guess you, because you're watching this. But it's okay. I've learned my lesson, and I will do a better job about that. So I'm just using that same Walnut Stain Distress ink on the edges, and I'm using my finger to help kind of smear it some, because where I cut it, you know, I had those indents and I couldn't get the pad in there. I could have used a cosmetic sponge, but I was being lazy and didn't want to sort through my stuff to try to find it. Y'all see my desk. It is covered with all kinds of stuff. I can see other pairs of scissors and tools and jewelry and all kinds of stuff on there that just gets scattered because I work in a frenzy like this all the time, switching from jewelry making to art. So, and my jewelry is art, but when I say art like that, I mean like paper art like this. So once I got all of my Distress Oxide on there, I am looking, and these are also, I love Tim Holtz products, y'all. It's just my jam. I love his stuff, and those are some of the chipboard pieces. And yep, I'm just going to ink it with that walnut stain Distress Oxide too. And again, use my finger to help smear it because lazy. So I got that done, and then what am I going to do? I don't even know. I'm going to pull out something. You see me, I'm searching through my stuff, and that is, oh, it's a little box I put together of little scraps of fabric, different things. Some of it's coffee dyed and tea dyed, some of it's just cheesecloth that's plain, just stuff I have. Again, I've got tons of fabric, but I put that little box together to have near me, and it's working out great. And then I took a little piece of, I think it's that same envelope I put down first on the page, and just kind of tore an edge and stacked that on top of that. Um, I believe that is coffee dyed piece of fabric, but it's also got like a pattern on it. So I cut those down to size, and I'm trying to find some kind of medium. I'm trying to use up stuff I have, and I found some. I don't even know what that product was, but it had dried up, so not going to use it. Instead, I just grabbed my matte gel medium, and I glued the paper straight onto the fabric like that. And I could have used my Oohoo glue stick, but when it comes to like, I don't know, I tend to use the Oohoo just for paper to paper, and when there's fabric or something a little more textured involved, I turn to the matte gel medium because it's definitely gonna give me some oomph. And then I decided I didn't have enough of that stamp on there, so I'm gonna add more. And y'all, I just kind of go crazy with it. This stamp is all over this page, but I do love my hand carved stamps, so it's, it definitely brings a lot of uniqueness. It's not somebody else's stamp. I have tons of store-bought stamps and online bought stamps that I forget to pull out because they're across the room, and but my hand carved stamps are pretty close at hand, so I turn to them quite a bit. So, like I said, it's unique and nobody else has them, so it definitely brings a lot of me to the page. So I decided I don't know if y'all had seen, I pulled out that little bit of embroidery floss there, and I'm going to use it in a minute. But first, I decided I'm going to go ahead and stick down my lady. And again, I'm using because those Tim Holtz, whatever those photographs are called, are really heavy duty paper. So I want a heavy duty medium to stick it down. So I got her down, and I'm trying to just make sure everything's where I want it. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab that embroidery floss. And that's just some black embroidery floss that that I'm using, all 6 strands, I believe. And I'm gonna and y'all are gonna watch me thread a needle because I don't think it only takes me 2 tries because it's a fairly big eye needle. And I got a ton of embroidery floss there, way more than I needed, but that makes it easier to work with so that I'm not having to not I don't know. I tend to work in excess. Sometimes when it comes to wire or thread or something like that, I'd rather, especially since it's kind of cheap, I'd rather have too much than not enough. So, and I'm just going to make some little X's. I don't know, when I use embroidery floss, that tends to be my go-to, is just to make little X's. Sometimes I've done little dashes, but I love the extra texture that the embroidery floss, the fiber, gives it. So I'm just going to make my pretty little X's. They're not exactly cross stitchy. They're not perfect. They're more like doodles because some of the lines are longer than others, and they're scattered and just kind of doodly. And it's kind of what I'm doing, is doodling with thread. So it's kind of fun. it brings in some more of my love. So cross stitch is one of the first crafts I remember learning when I was a kid. My mom used to cross stitch all the time, so she would buy us those little kits that were the Simple Kids kits, and I used to love doing that. So this kind of brings that back, brings some of my younger days crafting back. So, and then and you see I put 4 little X's on one side, and I decided I needed to bring that, since that black is so stark, I needed to bring it across to the other side of that little stack of paper and fabric there. And then stick my little genuine, or genuine, however you want to say it, onto that. So I've decided that's done, and I am just going to clip off all that excess that I have and tie a quick knot. And even though I've got knots on either side and I'm going to glue it down, I'm going to take the additional step here in a minute to put some masking tape over the back, and that helps in a couple different ways. For one, it gives it kind of a flatter surface to glue it and to make sure my threads are all kind of hidden and everything down there. So, but like I said, it gives a really good flat surface for everything. And look at me, I had turned that upside down and I realized that it was before I glued that down. I was so proud of myself. So I glue down since that is that heavy chipboard, I use the matte medium to glue down the genuine. And I'm trying to fray those edges of that fabric before I get it glued down, because I was afraid it would be too hard to, I don't know, fiddle with if I glued it down first. So, and I'm trying to decide, it's a huge decision. Is that exactly what I want? Is that what I'm going to do? So when I finally had that matte medium, I don't know why it takes me so long. I knew there wasn't anything else to do, but I have to stop and think. So, and then I just stick it down. And so once it's down, I take a kind of look back at what's going on the page, and I believe I'm going to grab my graphite pencil again, if I can find it. Do you see me looking, trying to find things? Oh no, first I wanted to darken everything up, so I put down some of that Distress Oxide on my nonstick craft sheet with a little bit of water, and I'm using a paintbrush, and I'm going to spread that color pretty much all over this page. Now, when it's all dry and everything, and looking at it while I was editing the pictures for this, it looks like it's coffee or tea dyed. It's kind of fabulous. That walnut stain, it really works out. So, and you see, I'm trying to get kind of behind some of my stamping without touching it, because I knew that if I touched it with that wet brush, those images in my stamps would just smear, because, again, water reactive. Again, it's one of my favorite things, but it does make it, fiddly. You've got to be a little more careful. But at the same time, in some cases, I do like to take my stamps and smear them with a little water when I've stamped them with a Distress Oxide or Distress ink. So but this time I kind of didn't. I wanted that structure there with that. So, and I've added that all over the place. I added it, on the paper that's behind the genuine stamp, and kind of, yeah, just I covered as much of the wide areas as I could. So, and then I'm going to grab my Stabilo pencil, all pencil in black, and I'm framing up this with it. I've got the black, and I think that's what I noticed, is I had that black graphite pencil kind of going down there, and I didn't have enough black really elsewhere on the page, so I'm adding that with the Stabilo. And I believe, yeah, in a little bit, I'm going to add some more of the graphite pencil to carry that through. It just felt so secluded up there. And I fiddled with this page far longer than I should. There's a couple things I wish I hadn't done when it comes down to it, and we'll get to that in a minute. So I'm sorry this is so long, but yeah, I do have regrets. So, and there's where I add that graphite pencil. I dipped it in water and just kind of smeared a little again to kind of get that same effect below and continue it from the top to the bottom. And I think here's where I kind of start going overboard, because I should have just left the page like this. Like, it looks great, doesn't it? It looks fab. And you see me picking up and looking at it, and I decided I needed pencil scribbles. I don't know why, and this is it just adds too much chaos. It's fine, really, in the end, but I think I should have stopped before I did this. So I did some scribbling, and then I'm doing just some hash marks on the page, and I'm using, I can't ever remember who makes that pencil, but it's a big fat pencil. If y'all need to know, ask me, and I've got packages at home that I can look at and tell you who makes it. Um, and then what I like about that is it's a fat lead, and I can smear it a little, like rub it and give it more of a blended out effect. So I did that, and then I think here I decide I'm done because I knew at that point I had done too much. So I'm going to give you a couple looks at this. I hope you've liked my crazy, messy, grungy page. And if you do, please give me a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe so you can see what else I've got going on. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Bye.